Another batch of emails has now been released, and this time they show a possible link between Mrs. Clinton's State Department and the Clinton Foundation.
What we're looking at is a couple of different releases from Judicial Watch. They're the ones who sued to try to get these emails made public. What it essentially shows is that Clinton political donors, Clinton Foundation former officials were pushing the State Department for certain favors, whether that be a job offer or a meeting with an ambassador.
When she was appointed Secretary of State in 2009, Hillary Clinton took a pledge to remove herself from any Clinton Foundation business. But these emails raised serious questions about whether the foundation and State Department were instead working hand in hand, providing jobs for associates and favors to big donors. For example, in 2009, Doug Band, a longtime advisor to Bill Clinton and the former head of the Clinton Global Initiative, emailed Secretary Clinton's senior aides, Huma Abedin and Cheryl Mills, asking for a, quote, favor because an unnamed associate needed a job. Band writes, quoting, "It's important to take care of blank." Abedin responds, quote, "We all have him on our radar. Personnel has been sending him options." Today, the State Department refused to identify the person or say if they got hired. But days later, Doug Band emails Abedin and Mills again, requesting that a big-time Clinton Foundation donor be put in contact with the American ambassador to Lebanon. Quoting again, "We need Gilbert Chagoury to speak to the substance person, reference Lebanon." Abedin assures Doug Band that she will speak with the ambassador. Records show Gilbert Chagoury, a Nigerian citizen of Lebanese descent, donated between $1 and $5 million to the Clinton Foundation and is known for his association with Nigeria's military dictator.
He's a billionaire. He gave between $1 million and $5 million to the Clinton Foundation. Committed to a $1 billion program associated with the Clinton Global Initiative, which is also part of the foundation. And so the Clinton Foundation's top operative, Doug Band, communicates with Clinton's top aides at the State Department saying he wants to talk to someone, your top guy, about Lebanon. And, you know, he says he's important to us, which translates to most normal people as he's important to us because he's a big donor to us. And so people have raised the issue is why is it that Mrs. Clinton, who promised to stay out of Clinton Foundation business, almost immediately the Clinton Foundation and her top aides are trying to take care of a Clinton donor.
Now, if you read some of these emails, it sounds like this Doug Band is telling Huma Abedin, in this instance, who's working at the time, at this moment for Hillary Clinton, telling her what he wants her to do. And she's responding saying, yes, I'll do that. I'll get that done. That is the very definition of quid pro quo, especially if you tie in that money, the $1 to $5 million.
Exactly. And Abedin and Cheryl Mills, who was also involved in this process, had been closely associated with the Clinton Foundation. In fact, Abedin later went to work for the foundation while working for the State Department at the same time. So this is working hand in glove, and Mrs. Clinton promised, in order to get it confirmed as the Secretary of State, to keep the Clinton Foundation out of State Department business, and those rules and that promise and that ethics agreement was violated almost immediately. There's also another email where the subject line says, a favor. Someone was seeking a job at the State Department. Band wanted some follow-up on that, and he was told there was follow-up. We don't know if it was a donor or just an associate or a friend, but once again, if you knew the Clinton Foundation, had a friend at the Clinton Foundation or were a big donor to the Clinton Foundation, you got a favor done, which was access, special access to the upper reaches of Hillary Clinton's State Department.
What we have here, not only from Tom's work, and by the way, he's a single-handed, dedicated person who exposed all this by filing these Freedom of Information Act lawsuits. What we see here is a regular, consistent pattern of foreign governments, foreign entities, and foreign persons coming to the Clinton State Department and asking for favors. Favors she is lawfully allowed to give, an exemption from this rule, permission to do that, the opportunity to purchase this. And then after the favor is issued, formally using the formal power that the federal law gives to the Secretary of State, huge contributions are made to the Clinton Foundation, and in some cases, huge speaking fees to Bill Clinton himself. By huge, $750,000, $500,000 to former President Bill Clinton, the husband of the Secretary of State.
These emails were not included among the 30,000 already made public. The messages show conversations between a top executive at the Clinton family charity and Clinton's closest aides at the State Department, including an urgent appeal to help a controversial foreign businessman and a request to find a job for a mystery person whose name is being kept secret. Mrs. Clinton's missteps forcing the Obama administration to handle the fallout, this time at a contentious State Department briefing. Watch.
Can you tell us why the State Department redacted that name and whether or not this person wound up getting a job or not?
Okay, well, I can't speak to specific cases.
I need a little help understanding why this person's name cannot be shared.
I can't speak to specific cases.
Would it be wrong to assume that then that this is, a case simply of nepotism or something like that?
I can't speak to specific cases, Justin.
You don't feel like there was impropriety in the relationship between the Clinton Foundation and the State Department?
We talked to a wide range of people at my level, at various levels.
Has the department looked into this and determined that there was no impropriety?
The department is regularly in touch with people across the whole spectrum.
That's not the question. I'm sorry. Am I not speaking English? The question is whether or not you've determined that there was nothing improper here.
We feel confident that all the rules were followed.
Judicial Watch, the conservative watchdog that obtained these emails, accuses Mrs. Clinton of hiding the documents because she knows they contradict her pledge and show a conflict of interest.
There is absolutely no connection between anything that I did as Secretary of State and the Clinton Foundation.
They asked Mrs. Clinton to exercise her official government authority as Secretary of State to relieve them of the obligation to comply with certain laws. She said yes, and they made multi-million-dollar contributions.
Well, look, they have had a trouble all along between the connections between the Clinton Foundation and also Bill Clinton's personal speeches and what went on in the State Department.
People very close to the Clintons, including a source who's been working with the Clintons for more than 2 decades, who told me the week that the New York Times exposed this rogue server, that what this was all about was the foundation, that the blurring the lines between their political and professional lives, that's what was in the emails, was to look for the pay to play.
It does seem to be a curious pattern that there was so much money going into the foundation and going into Bill Clinton's personal coffers.
Peter Schweitzer is the author of Clinton Cash. Peter, what did you learn by looking at these 44 new emails?
Well, I think Judicial Watch did a great job of getting them released. And what it does is it's further confirmation to what we've been talking about for more than a year, that there's been pay to play at the Clinton State Department related to the Clinton Foundation, and the Clintons have failed to deal with any of the substance of these issues. Heck, Trace talked about the agreement that Hillary Clinton had when she went in to become Secretary of State. Part of that agreement was that they were supposed to disclose all donors to the Clinton Foundation. They still haven't done that. There's more than 1,100 foreign donors that we don't even know the names about. So this is further confirmation, and the noose is tightening.
And look, Peter, they put those 30,000 emails out there, and they said, oh, that's it, nothing else to see here. And here's 44 new emails that reveal a lot about what was going on at that time. Where's this going to go? Are we going to see more of these? Are there more emails where these came from?
Yes, I know there are more emails. There are emails that are being produced almost on a weekly basis for both Judicial Watch and Citizens United. You have Julian Assange saying that we're probably going to see more emails. Look, here's the bottom line. You saw a little bit of it today with the State Department, but the media has to hold Hillary Clinton accountable and ask her to answer these questions. Here's why this is so troubling. This is not a typical money in politics story. We're used to Wall Street, oil companies, etc., giving donations to politicians, getting access. But federal law prevents foreign businessmen and governments from doing so. The Clinton Foundation is a gateway around that. Gilbert Chagoury is a perfect example. He's getting access to the U.S. ambassador. He's not a U.S. citizen. He's not a U.S. businessman. He's getting access because he gave money to the Clintons.
The big key issue was the pay for play, the idea of blurring the lines between personal and professional, giving favors in lieu of cash rewards and bounty, so to speak.
One of the statistics that I've always found most interesting and telling is the fact that Bill Clinton made 13 speeches for which he was paid $500,000 or more, individual speeches, between 2000, when he left the White House, and 2012. 11 of those 13 were during the 4 years that Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, and all 11 of those were paid for by foreign interests in foreign countries with businesses that had ties to foreign governments and interests in front of the State Department.
Because he's not only producing a speech, he's producing some exemption from American federal regulation or some opportunity in America for these people that are hosting the speech that only his wife can give. If the DOJ were serious about this, they would indict some of the people who got these favors, and those people would spill the beans on what their negotiations were with Bill and his people and what their negotiations were with Hillary and her people. This is a very, very serious allegation of public corruption.
You talk to Judicial Watch and Citizens United. The State Department is fighting tooth and nail to prevent any emails from coming out. Federal judges are forcing them to do this. The State Department's not doing the bidding of the American people. They're doing the bidding of the Clintons, and it has to stop. And God bless these federal judges for forcing them to release this material.
Now, we just went through the DOJ saying they weren't going to indict Hillary because the FBI said the recommendation was not to. Is this going to be another James Comey, yeah, we did an investigation, we'll turn it over to you, DOJ, and Loretta Lynch saying, we're not going to indict?
I'm sorry to say that I fear that. 2 months ago, I did not fear it, because Jim Comey 2 months ago had that stellar, superb, lifelong reputation as a straight shooter, and I'm sorry to tell you, there he is on the screen. I'm sorry to tell you, Eric, this is not new, and I'm not the only one saying this, he no longer has that reputation.
Director Comey said that my answers were truthful, and what I've said is consistent with what I have told the American people.
There are great FBI agents. These are the people in the field. They are very unhappy with the decisions of the Justice Department, their bosses, or of Director Comey, their ultimate boss, not to bring this information to a grand jury.
And so what's the motivation there?
To elect Hillary Clinton president. Not on Jim Comey's part, but on the part of the higher-ups in the DOJ.
It's called pay for play.